Let me read to you a passage from the 7th chapter of St. Mark's Gospel, verses 14 to 23. It's the Gospel for Wednesday of the 5th week of Ordinary Time. St. Mark writes, "Again Jesus called the crowd to him and said, 'Listen to me, everyone, and understand this. Nothing outside a man can make him unclean by going into him. Rather, it is what comes out of a man that makes him unclean.' After he had left the crowd and entered the house, his disciples asked him about this parable. 'Are you so dull?' he asked. 'Do you not see that nothing that enters a man from outside can make him unclean? For it doesn't go into his heart, but into his stomach, and then out of his body.' In saying this, Jesus declared all foods clean. He went on, 'What comes out of a man is what makes him unclean. For from within, out of men's hearts, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance and folly. All these evils come from inside and make a man unclean.'" That's from Mark chapter 7, verses 14 to 23. In that our Lord refers to the heart of man. You know, Albert Einstein, who lived from 1879 to 1955, who between 1905 and 1915 developed the theory of general relativity, effected a revolution in physics. For this achievement, Einstein is often regarded as the father of modern physics. Over the course of his academic career, he had a prolific output, publishing more than 300 scientific papers, along with over 150 non-scientific works. Now for me, as one with little background in physics and mathematics, Einstein's most interesting attempt was to use, beginning in 1917, his general theory of relativity to provide a model of the structure of the universe as a whole. He was looking for a basic formula for the entire universe, a key around which pivots the cosmos. In 1950, he described his unified field theory in his paper on a generalized theory of gravitation. In this attempt to unify the fundamental forces of the universe, it is agreed that his efforts were unsuccessful. Einstein expressed views on Judaism, theological determinism, agnosticism, and humanism. He also wrote about ethical culture. In respect to religion, it seems he preferred Spinoza's God over belief in a personal God. I have read that Einstein's dream of unification motivates modern quests for a theory of everything, and in particular string theory, about which I have viewed television programs. What is interesting is this pursuit in physics and mathematics of a theory of everything. If only we could get to the heart of things, that element, formula, equation, key or component constituting the linchpin of the universe and which is its pivot. The same goal has driven various schools of philosophy. Einstein was German, and many German philosophers over the last few centuries have, amid all their obscurities, sought a basic principle of reality. Philosophical principle. In one of his observations in his philosophical notebook, Blessed John Henry Newman reacted adversely against this quest for a single philosophical principle that is meant to account for everything. He writes that he had always disagreed with it. Now I mentioned this quest for a central hinge, a key pivot, a basic principle, this search for something around which will turn a great deal of life and the world's course, as an introduction to our gospel passage that I read earlier. That fulcrum is the heart of man. What do I mean? The problem of evil in the world is the standard objection against theism. There is no doubt that the universe constitutes a problem for the happiness of very many. For a tremendous number, age after age, the world is not a happy home, and many are crushed by it. But what are we to make of this? There have been many answers, and from reason alone, the jury has always been out. But from on high, there has come the revelation that there is one God, and He is the author of all, and most especially of man. He created man in His own image, and that included free will. Man used his power of choice to rebel against his Maker, and this resulted in a profound dislocation of everything. Death entered the world through one man's sin, as St. Paul writes, and death has spread to the whole human race. This is a mystery, but it has been revealed. As we read in the book of Genesis, "Cursed is the ground because of you. In toil you shall eat of it all the days of your life. Thorns and thistles it shall bring forth to you. In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread till you return to the ground." Genesis chapter 3, verse 17 to 19. Because man sinned against God, the world became hostile, and death arose and dragged him down. The point, though, is that the fundamental problem of the universe is the sin which arises from the heart of man. At the beginning, God created man in His own image and is very good. Genesis chapter 1, verse 26 and verse 31. It all went awry when man chose to sin. The temptation came from without, from the serpent, but the consent to sin came from his own heart. It is from the heart of man that both good and evil flows. Thus the fulcrum of the universe is the human heart. If the heart of man is made right, ultimately the universe will be set on the right course and will share in the glory to come. The Redeemer came to take away the sin of the world, and sin resides in the heart of man. If we must identify a single element around which pivots the life and ultimate health of the cosmos, it is the heart of man. And so it is that our Lord says in our gospel that I read earlier, "What comes out of a man is what makes him unclean, for from within, out of men's hearts, come evil thoughts, sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance and folly. All these evils come from inside and make a man unclean." Mark chapter 7, verse 14 to 23. Let us understand that the one thing we must do in life is conquer our own hearts, which is to say, to conquer them for God. But of course, we ourselves cannot conquer our own hearts alone. We can do so only by the power of God's grace. It is the task of life, and everything hinges on the success of this enterprise. We must make of our hearts the abode of God as the Lord of our lives and of everything we choose to do. Religion is supremely a matter of the heart. Let us take our stand with Christ then, and resolve to be His disciples in truth. All that we do in life and at death should be done for the glory of God.